Hello and welcome to the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nikeya Young, and we are moving right along with this season's theme, The Simple Life. This is season 8 if you're just now tuning in. And we have themed this season The Simple Life because in a time of chaos and uncertainty, and just even when there is no chaos and uncertainty, if you want to thrive, sometimes the best way to do that is to simplify and scale back. And so we're talking about in various veins this season, simple things you can do to make your life so much easier. A lot of times we tend to overthink and think it has to be this big, lofty thing, or think something is going to be way more involved than it actually is. And so today, we have a very special guest in our studio virtually this morning, the lovely Shani Fay Allman. Woo!
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hello.
You guys, Shani is my sister from another mother. And if you can't tell that by us being dang near dressed alike, having our hair almost the same, none of this was planned. We just hopped on camera and was like gagging, like, ah. But Shani is, yes, I know, twinning. I love it. Shani's going to give us some simple ways to amplify our visibility and our voice, all that. So I'll let her tell you. Give us, people have seen you before, but for people who are new, give them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, well, first, thank you again for having me. Hello to Nikeya's audience, the Victorious Living Solutions family. I am Shani Fay, and I own Two Pecans and a Peach LLC, and our executive branch where we help big companies launch their podcasts and all of that is Orchard Media Studios. Okay. What we do is really, our whole brand is about like motherhood and entrepreneurship and how to simplify those two journeys so you don't have to pick one. The primary thing that we do is to help with visibility. So we do that through podcasting. That's the vehicle, but the mission has always been the same. And that is to help mothers to amplify their voices and their mission. So that's,
yeah. So now you guys see why it was very important for me to bring Shani on to talk to us. Okay. So I'm having a couple of questions that I'm having guests answer this season. And I'm going to ask you the same questions before we get into what we're going to talk about today. But Finish this sentence. Ready?
Ready.
All right. Life is much more simpler for me when
Life is much more simpler for me when I hire Poplin to do my laundry. Like, I love Poplin. They should pay me. They should give me like some type of brand deal. But laundry is one of those dreaded things. Like, that just piles up, like no matter what you do. And so I've been using that service for years now, and it really does. It's like my favorite mommy hack. It simplifies my life so much.
Now, I've never heard of Poplin.
It used to be Sud Share. And then they rebranded, and now they're Poplin. And it's $1 for a pound of laundry, and they will pick it up from your door and drop it right back off at your door. And I just find it to be like the best thing ever. So yeah.
And they're everywhere? They're in all 50 states?
Yes.
Child, now yes. that was worth the podcast interview right there.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I've never heard of them before ever in life. Okay. All right. So ladies,
I'll actually have a discount code. So if you want, I can share that with your audience and they can feel free to use it. I think it's like $10 off your first order or something like that. So the first time I did it, I had like 7 bags of laundry. Don't y'all shame me now. I had like 7 bags of laundry. Like, you know, those 13-gallon garbage bags that you use in the kitchen, like those, like literally 7 bags. And it cost me like $35 to get all of it done.
Okay.
Yeah. And they put it on hangers, everything. Like, girl, I can't say enough good things about them. So
Wow.
definitely try it out. Yeah, definitely a
Okay.
lifesaver.
Yes, send me that link and I'll make sure that our producer puts it in the show notes because that's gonna bless somebody real good. Real good.
Mhm.
Amen. Praise God. All right. So here's the next question. All right. Life is more complicated for me when I
Hmm. Life is more complicated for me when I get away from the fundamentals. Like when
Okay.
I get away from just like doing what I know I'm supposed to do, when I try to get too extra. Now I am in general an extra person. I, that's how God created me. I am in general extra, but when I get away from the foundations and the fundamentals of what I know I'm supposed to be doing, then life gets complicated
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
Mhm.
So yeah, sticking to the fundamentals for sure.
Okay. And what are the fundamentals for you?
Well, it depends on what aspect we're talking about. So for me, I've broken my life up into 7 sections,
Okay.
like 7 different pillars of my life.
Mhm.
And so, for example, I have like my spirituality, I have finances, I have family. So it would depend on what section we're talking about, or
Okay.
business. So since we're talking about, visibility and strategies like that, let's talk about my fundamentals for business.
Okay.
I know that when I am doing my podcast and I am reaching my audience on a really like intimate level, that my business grows. But
Okay.
sometimes I get out of pocket and I think about, oh, well, so and so was doing this. So maybe I try doing that. And so and
Mhm.
so is doing that. And then I get distracted and then my message gets watered down. And then the people who have, my tried and true, they're like, girl, you forgot about us. Where you been? So that's one thing like in business I've learned, that the podcast is so important to my business for sure. So
Absolutely.
that's one of my fundamentals. Yeah.
Okay. Very good, very good. And we've all been there, okay, for the most part. And I would say, because we're able to now see what everyone is doing all the time, it
Yeah.
can cause you to get distracted and lose your fundamentals. So, yes, life is definitely more complicated when you
Mhm.
look in the lane next to you, as opposed to keeping your blinders on and looking straight ahead
Yeah.
where you're going and running your own race. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like that shiny ball syndrome. You're like, or like squirrel, you're like squirrel. You
Squirrel!
know what I mean? It's like
Squirrel!
squirrel. It's like that. Like you see this thing, you're like, ooh, I want that. It's working for them.
Mhm.
I want it to work for me. You want to try out all these different things. Um, and honestly, like just to touch on like the marketing bit for a little bit, because that has everything to do with why you want to be visible in the first place, because you're
Yes.
trying to market either yourself as building your personal brand or your business. And you can look at what other people are doing, they can advise you on what they've done to get where they are, but they had to find what uniquely worked for them and their
Absolutely.
audience.
Mhm.
And so we can't discount that, like, yes, you want to try different things, but when you find that thing that's working for you, you need to go 10 toes down on that thing. And like you say, put those blinders on
Mhm.
and forget everything else.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
So I would say, what would you say are some of the biggest visibility mistakes? I don't even know if I want to call it mistakes, but no, maybe it is the right word that you see your clients making. What are some of the biggest, or maybe things that they're neglecting, like you're forgetting to do this or whatever?
Yeah. Honestly, confidence is a big thing, right?
Okay.
So I work with a lot of experts, like they know their stuff. I've worked with doctors, I've worked with, coaching, like coaching experts, all these like really amazing people who know their stuff. But when it comes down to it, they're like, but I don't know if I can translate that right through a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. I don't know if I can communicate it. And I think what happens is they're in a place where, because they're an expert and they've been in this lane for so long, they're afraid to make mistakes in public.
Mm.
So this is what's new to them, right? So they're accustomed, like not me personally, but let's say one of my doctor clients, like they know when they walk into a room with a patient, they know what to check for, how to check it, all of that. But when they break into, maybe starting their own business and they're like, well, I want to have a podcast so I can promote my business. And they venture into that. There's so many things that they have to learn about that they're afraid to not look like an expert. And they just don't realize that, they don't realize that it's not that you're not an expert. You're just, you're learning this new lane of podcasting or, your
Yeah.
visibility strategy, whatever they decide to do. And so I think if they give themselves more grace, but that's one of the biggest pitfalls is just having the confidence
Mm.
to make mistakes in public. Like I
Yes.
always say, your first episode is going to be the worst. Like it just is. You know what I mean? It's going to be the worst. And people are like, oh my God, don't say that, because they want it to be perfect, right?
Mm.
They want that episode to be perfect. But like if you've been a doctor for 20 years, like hopefully you're better now than you were 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole goal is like start somewhere and then not be afraid to make mistakes or not be afraid to like get embarrassed, in public.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bounce back and people are like, they see that authenticity, and
Yeah.
it actually makes people gravitate towards you because
Absolutely.
it really humanizes you. So
Yeah.
so stop aiming for perfect and just aim for real.
I
So
love that. Girl, okay, we're
yeah.
gonna, we're gonna make a meme out of that one. Stop aiming for
Yes.
perfect
Put it on
and
a
aim
t-shirt.
for real. Girl,
Yeah.
yes. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so besides that, what else would you say? The confidence is definitely that's
Yeah.
huge. That you can overthink
Another one.
yourself into oblivion just on that one. But
Yeah. And that's the other part is that the procrastination, right?
mm-hmm,
So like I have clients, they sign up and they're like, oh my God, I'm ready. I've been thinking about launching a podcast for like 2 years now. Like, I don't know why you've been thinking about it for 2 years, but okay, like, but we here now, right?
mm-hmm,
So I've been thinking about doing this for 2 years and I'm ready to do it. And it's like, okay, that's great. So let's talk strategy, right? I lay everything out for them. Like I try to make it as simple as possible so that all they have to do is show up in their zone of genius and
mm-hmm.
just let it all out on the microphone, right?
Yeah.
We plan out what are your episodes going to be? What does it look like? What's the content going to look like? So we have a plan. Because for me, when you have a plan, that's one of my fundamentals is having a plan. If I don't have a plan, I just feel like I'm just winging it, right? I just feel like I'm just flapping out here, like trying to just get my life together, right? I'm not commanding my 24 if I don't have a plan, you know?
Yes.
So, but sometimes, like, when my clients first come to me, they are like, well, I need to make sure I have the right microphone. I need to make sure I have the right this. We can have that conversation. Let's talk about the kind of microphone that you need to get. Let's talk about, all the equipment that you need to get. They're like, yeah, but I still want to do research. And it's like, oh, this procrastination is killing you, baby.
Mhm.
So
Meanwhile,
that's
there's
another.
a whole culture of like streamer bros. That's what I call them for lack of a better word, that are killing
Mm-hmm.
it, making like Kai Sanat and DDG
Yeah.
with his crazy tail self. And just there's a whole bunch of them. They're just being themselves.
Yeah.
They're being goofy. They're being silly and recording their
Yeah.
lives, on, I don't know, what are they on Twitch or whatever? Y'all know the
Yeah.
streamer bros. It's a whole bunch of them,
Mhm.
different races, age groups, or whatever. And they're just like, bro, no. And making money.
Yeah.
It looks goofy to us, but they're not overthinking like, is my microphone right? Is my haircut the right? They're just being themselves in their basement. Okay, we're gonna bring over such and such. Hey, and it's just like people watch
Mm-hmm.
this. Yes, people watch this and they get paid a lot of money to just
Yep.
be themselves on camera. And here we
Yeah.
are with all these degrees and all this expertise. overthinking ourselves
Nervous.
into oblivion.
Nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And content, what makes those people so enticing to look at is that they're very entertaining. And that
They
is what
are.
content is supposed to do. Yeah,
Hmm.
content is supposed to either be entertaining or educational.
Hmm.
And so people and that's another mistake. If you were going to ask me what the other mistake is, that sometimes we get, because we're such intellectuals, we focus so much on educating that we forget to entertain,
Mm.
right? We forget to like let our personalities out there and let people get to know us. Which is why I think most people like to do interview podcasts, because then they
Hmm.
can talk with someone and they feel comfortable and have those conversations. Um, but then the mistake about that is that they forget to actually promote their business,
Yep.
and promote what they are doing. And
Hmm.
I see that all the time, which is why it's so important, again, that fundamental to have a plan.
Yeah.
Because if you know what your episode is going to be about and you invite someone on to be a guest, then you're not just wanting to create content for them, right? Like, you bring them on as a guest, and yes, you want to make it equitable for both parties,
Hmm.
but you also want to make sure that they're talking or lending to a subject that is important for you and your business. So,
Hmm.
for example, you have Victorious Living Solutions, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
You coach people on how to win in life. And so this season, you're focusing on how to simplify some of those things, right? We got enough chaos going in the world.
Hmm.
We need to simplify some of our systems, simplify what we're doing, get back to those fundamentals.
Hmm.
So for me coming on the show now, I teach people how to podcast. I teach people how to be more visible, how to really show up for themselves and their businesses. So how do I now come and not conflict with your message? I come
Hmm.
and I lend to your message, right? We make it very clear what we're talking about
Hmm.
is how to simplify, and we speak on that, so that you can tie it back to your offer. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want people to know too. Like, tie it back to your offer.
Uh-huh.
So, because that's another thing people forget. So,
Yeah.
I was very, very long winded.
No, but that's good. That's why we're here to learn, because I know
Yeah.
people, summertime is a good time when people are really tightening up their message. They're kind of looking at what worked well over the fall,
Mhm.
winter, and spring quarters, and everyone's kind of kicking back on summer break. We're usually not even doing this podcast this far into the summer, maybe a little bit into June, but we're usually done by now and on summer hiatus. It's just that
Yeah.
I didn't have a spring season. I went on the longest hiatus we've been on since we started the show, but it was needed
Mhm.
because I was wrapping up that Cornell certificate that I did.
Mhm.
Um, so
And
yeah.
then you had an event too that you were like a
Mhm.
homeschool event that you
Yeah,
were
I
working
had
on.
a multiple conferences that I was doing. I
Mm.
had a whole bunch going on, so that's why I was like, well, I have to do a summer season now. I'm gonna not, because I think the last season I did ended in toward the end of November or early December.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I can't wait all the way to fall to come back. Everybody will have moved
Yeah,
on. Like, oh, okay, girl.
it's hard. It's hard, and I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know, because
Man.
I went through a transition in my life, and I moved from Georgia to Florida,
Hmm.
and I had so many client work that I had to see about, and I took 7 months off my podcast,
Mm.
and I was like, did I even bother coming back? They
Mm.
gonna be like, girl, who are you? What you talking about? So I
The
was
longer you stay
nervous
away, the
to,
harder it is to come back. It is hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I just call it something else. We just gonna do, it ain't even Mommy Moga Master anymore. We just gonna call it something else. Like, we starting brand new. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, but I did, because I am not afraid to fail in public, because the more times that I fall is the more times that I'll get up and I'll get quick. I will get to the goal quicker.
Yeah.
So people will get to see, like, oh, well, this is what happens when you take 7 months off and you start, putting content out again. And people are
Hmm.
like, oh, do I want to watch this? Like, they can see the crickets, and then they'll start seeing like it pick back up, and they're like, oh, okay. And it encourages people. So
Yeah.
let me be the example. That's fine.
I love it. I love it. And it's good for people to see that human side of
Yeah.
us. But yeah, this is like
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
time for that review. It's like, okay, I'm going to come back bigger and better in the fall. So summer is a good time to get those ducks in a row and figure out what am I going to do. And this
Yeah.
episode is going to be really important to a lot of people. What would you say has helped you? One of the things that has helped you the most with your visibility, like in terms of literal visibility, getting it out there, numbers going up, because we can
Yeah.
get the confidence, we can get the content out there, and it's just like, okay, how do I now get people to watch it? How do I overcome that SEO and all those things that have to come
Yeah.
together to get people to see
Oh, the
your awesome
dreaded
product?
SEO.
Girl, yes. Let's talk about it.
The dreaded SEO. So, all right, not an SEO expert, but I have learned a lot through trial and error. I have fallen down the SEO escalator enough times to figure out how like to figure out how to make it work. So, let's say you're doing a video podcast, which I recommend 1000%. If you're gonna bother doing a podcast, there needs to be a video element to it. Like there's just no, in my mind, there's no negotiating. And I know there's somebody out there who's like, but podcasts are supposed to be audio only. Yes, podcasts are typically audio only. However, if we really want to simplify that visibility strategy, then we need to be adding a video element. That way you can repurpose on different platforms. Like you can have it on YouTube, which is just like Google for video, right? So you want to have it on YouTube. You want to have reels on even on LinkedIn if that's where your playground is. You want to have it there. You want to have it on what's the other one? Instagram, because I don't like Instagram like that, but I'm still on Instagram. I just haven't figured out the Instagram algorithm that well yet, so that's why I don't like it. We don't, but I keep playing with it. We gonna figure it out. So so SEO, you want to make sure, like when you're doing your content pillars, you want to identify exactly, and I wouldn't say like more than 4 different words that you want the algorithm to continue to pick up. Now, the thing about YouTube, why I love YouTube so much, is that they are not geared towards the creator. They are geared toward the audience. Okay. So they want to make sure that whatever a person is looking for, that they will find. All so right. Let's say for you're saying, okay, well, the simple life is what I want to focus on. But what is your overall brand? Like, think about your overall brand. What are your 4 key pillars for your brand? That needs to be somewhere in your SEO, in your description, your title, every single episode. Okay. So for me, one of my words is visibility. So in every single episode, I'm putting something in either the title or the description that says visibility. Because I want when people look it up, when they're saying, oh, well, how can I be more visible for my business, that I will come up. All right. So yes. Yeah. And on YouTube, and I love YouTube. Like YouTube is not going anywhere. Once you finally monetize, they actually are paying you better than any other platform. There's no competition. TikTok, not Instagram, hands down, YouTube pays you the most, and your content stays evergreen. When you're on platforms like Instagram, the content just, if you're not staying up on trends, it eventually goes away. Like the algorithm literally is just like, okay, we're done, and it'll shelf it. Yikes. But on YouTube, you can be making money off of a video that's 2 and 3 years old. And so
I like that. I like that. Right. I need those coins.
Yes. So when you create something, you know that it has longevity to it. Yeah. Which is also why I tell people, you want to make sure, yes, I know we hear this all the time, like you want to niche down. But you also want to make sure that when you're niching down, that you're talking about content or that's not like current event specific. Okay. Right. So because you want to, I mean, there's some platforms that'll do it. Like you have Midas Touch, there are news outlet essentially. So they will talk about the current events of the day. You have Don Lemon's show. He's talking about the current events of the day, but it's a different platform. For you, if you're trying to grow a business, for anyone who's listening, who's trying to grow a business, you want to make sure that you're talking about things that will still be relevant 2 and 3 years from now. Okay. So what in your industry is still going to be relevant. That way the content stays evergreen too. The other thing is that long form content is very important. I know that everybody's like, oh, but you got to create shorts and you got to create reels and blah, 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 and all the things. But people want to know, first of all, they're getting tired. They're getting tired. They have done
Very
studies
short
on
attention
this.
spans.
Correct. And so people are like, oh, I'm starting to feel kind of stupid. Like I need to watch something to see if I can, like if I can maintain watching something for a longer amount of time, because this doom scroll, it will get you. So they've actually done studies. They've actually done studies that people are coming away. Now they're never going to leave the short form content alone, but they are trying to be more balanced in their content consumption. And so we want to make sure that you have long form content so that people can actually like go deep with you. Right.
And that's the thing. I'm sorry. I was going to say, that's the thing. Like people, their attention spans are shortened in the sense that people are bombarded with a lot. Yeah. So it doesn't mean, because people have shorter attention spans, I shouldn't do long form content. It means they would rather filter out and watch quality over quantity. That's what it is. In short, people don't have time for the BS. So they're changing what they view. They're finding a few people that are really talking about something that is empowering them or helping them, like spiritually, emotionally, financially. And they're like, I'm just going to focus on these people because all of this is too much. So that's good
eventually
news
you want it to stay quiet. Because when you're on TikTok or you're on Instagram, maybe this is just me, but I start scrolling and I start to feel like overstimulated. And then I just get off the app. Then I'm just like, I close my phone and I'm just off of it because it's too much. But when I'm listening to a podcast, like one of my favorite podcasters is Omar El Takori. And when I listen to him, his podcasts are like an hour long, and I will listen to the whole thing and not feel overwhelmed. Like I just feel like, gem after gem after gem, really good information. And to me, that's sometimes you rewind and you go back, which helps your watch out. So if you're saying things like, I try to tell people to talk in like sound bites, because then people are like, ooh, that was good. Let's go back. You know what I mean? Let's rewind that. That helps with your watch time, which is also important on YouTube. They care about watch time, not views. So you can look at it and be like, oh, I have, 1,500 views. But if people were clicking off within like the first 2 minutes, then you don't have a lot of watch time. Yeah. Right. So the goal is to talk in a way that gets people to stay. So in order to do that, besides, SEO, is pretend like you're talking to your friend. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, who is your bestie? And talk to them. And like, don't use, in my line of work, we talk about like, just be real. You know what I mean? Like, be real, be yourself. And talk as if you're talking to a friend, which also means that you want to explain things as if you're talking to your friend, like who does not know what your business is, does not know what you do. I had a boss who told me, and it'll always stay with me. She said, what is common to you is not common to other people. So we take for granted that we know these things. Yeah, like we know these things in and out, like we've done the work, but other people don't. So we need to say it in a way that they're like, oh, I was wondering about that. Like when people say, oh, you have to have a strategy. Well, what does that mean exactly? What does that mean exactly? Or you need to stay consistent. What does this mean exactly? Like these are all very how. You know what I mean? Like you said a lot of stuff, but what does it mean? So like consistency, if you're going to be consistent with something, because we're all consistent, we just ain't all consistent at the right thing. Ooh. So you want to be consistent. Do I need to say it again?
Yes, like you do. I think you need to run that back.
Exactly. We are all consistent. We just not all consistent at the right stuff. So, if you're launching your podcast and like my podcast goes out every week, but I know what it takes to make my podcast go out every week, right? The editing ain't no joke. So
Mm.
if you can't do every week, if you can do every other week, then you need to consistently do every other week. And it's not necessarily just for your audience, it's also for you because you're building a muscle that I can do this thing over and over and over again. Like I can stay consistent. And it shows that you are reputable. Like people, if they
Mhm.
invest with you, if they
Yes.
sign up for something in your business, like you are going to be there because they've seen you show up time and time again.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, what is something besides podcasting? What are some other ways that people can make themselves more visible?
Hmm. Well, I just love my podcasting.
I
But
know.
what
It's
are some
like,
other ways?
yeah. Because sometimes we do
Well,
these things and we just do them naturally and we don't think about it.
mhm,
So, what are some of
yeah,
those other ways that you do to get people to look at you to even know that you have a podcast to go to?
yeah, yeah. And and then there's also other mediums. So like I said, I love podcasting, but I can talk, and I'm sure your audience has realized this by now. Like, dang, that girl can talk, right? So so for me, that's just, and my voice has always just been the thing that's like just always kind of had my back. Like that's my bestie, right? Is my
Mhm.
voice.
I
So
love it.
that's my thing. But maybe some people want to express that through writing. Like
Hmm.
I've started doing a newsletter and I love this newsletter. Like, and granted, it is an extension of my podcast.
Right.
Um, so when I do the episode, then I repurpose that content into something that's written. And I don't always do the same exact thing. Like
Mhm.
if the podcast, we did one episode on human design, which I was like, when I realized that that's what she did, I was like, oh, don't know if I would have had her.
Mhm.
Anyways, let me not say that. But like, because it's not really my lane, it's not really what I do. I did learn some stuff though. So I had her on about that. But then when I did the actual like newsletter that usually comes out afterwards, I said, well, I kind of want to take a different angle on this, right? So it's not exactly a repeat of what we've talked about in the episode. It's a different angle. But for me, I've quite enjoyed like putting it in writing. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to focus more on my blog because I enjoy writing as well. So
Mhm.
that's another way to stay visible too. There are like people making millions of dollars with blogs.
Mm.
So I think the important thing when you're thinking about visibility is, well, what can I one stay consistent in? And two, what can I do that feels most natural for me?
Yeah.
Right? So if you are not a talker, if you are someone who prefers to write, then by all means do that,
Absolutely.
nobody's saying that everybody has to do podcasting, although I do
Mhm.
advocate for it. But find that thing that I can stay consistent at this. I feel joy when I'm doing this, and again, be consistent.
Yeah.
So there's many different ways. People, blogs, like I said, blogs, newsletters, all the things. So
I need to get into
yeah.
that because a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a really good writer. And I wrote blog back in the day. Wrote for Plus Model Magazine for like 3 years. I was a contributor for them. I had my own column with Examiner. Remember Examiner.com?
Yeah.
And I was the
Yes.
Chicago Plus Size Fashion Examiner for like another 3 or 4 years. Um, like I've had my work featured in USA Today twice. Just different things. I'm really good at writing. Since I had kids,
Mhm.
trying to sit down and write is a lot harder for me.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to find a way to work that in because that is another, you're right. It is a way to increase your visibility in a different way. And I really
Mhm.
enjoyed writing when I did it. So I've been kind of
Yeah.
thinking about doing a newsletter and having that on LinkedIn or just even blogging more
Mhm.
and posting that to my website so that,
Yeah.
it goes out to the people who are on my email list. If you're not on the Victorious Living Solutions email list, you should be. Uh,
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
I love
But
when I get those emails. I'm like, what's she doing?
oh, thank you. Thank you. So tell me more about the newsletter thing on LinkedIn, because I think that's one of those
Yeah.
things that I'm overthinking. Because I've been like,
Yeah.
I should start that, and I don't know. Talk
It's
about that a little
actually,
bit.
yeah, it's not hard at all. And I've learned some tricks to like make it look really nice.
Okay.
So before, when I first started it, it was just like I was writing text.
Yeah.
And so it looked really like, oh, kind of boring because they give you like, okay. So when you go into LinkedIn, and you're on your homepage, it'll give you the option like to post or add media or write an article. So when you click on write an article, then if you just start writing an article, it'll only be like a one-off. It won't actually be a newsletter. And here's
Oh.
why there's a distinction and why it's important. So when you actually have a newsletter, they allow you to invite people, like all of your
Connections.
subscribers, right, all of your connections, and
Okay.
anyone who you connect with in the future will automatically, there's a way to make it so that they automatically get invited to
Mhm.
be in your newsletter so that you can continue to see it grow. But what LinkedIn does, which is really beautiful, is that they will send it to those people's emails. So even if these people are not actively checking their LinkedIn on a daily basis, they can still get that newsletter from you in their email. But one thing I don't like about that is that you don't have access to their email. So you have to
Mm.
get creative in like how you get people to, because you want to build your email list, right? Everybody who has a business, you need to be growing your email list. So you
Mhm.
want to get creative about that. So what I do is I put a lead magnet in a newsletter. So something enticing that people want to like sign up for. That way I can get their email, whichever email they prefer to use, because it might not
Yeah.
always be the same as what they signed up for LinkedIn with. So you have to get creative about like, okay, well, how do I give them value in this newsletter? But how do I also make sure that I'm converting them in a way where I can nurture those conversations later on? Because basically, when they say, yes, I want to be part of your newsletter, they're agreeing that they are open to the kind of content that you're putting out.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is, right? Like some
Mhm.
people might be like, oh, well, I'd love to connect with you, but I'm not thinking about launching a podcast. I'm not thinking about none of that. But when they say, yes, I want to opt in, I want to be in your newsletter, they are already telling you, I'm interested in whatever it is that you sell.
Yeah.
So convince them to buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go in, you go to write an article. You need to make sure that you go to the little drop down menu and there's an area that says manage, right? So
Okay.
it says newsletter, that says manage, and this is where you can actually launch a newsletter. That's
Oh.
what you want to do. Not one-off articles. You want to have a newsletter.
Okay.
Um,
And
and
this is
so
all
some of
just
the
from the
tips that I've
post
learned.
section. This is all just
Yes.
from the.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull it up now because I don't give me the lion friend. So I'm pull up my LinkedIn on my pull up my LinkedIn on my phone. And yes, so when you're on the home page and
Hmm.
you go to like create a post, like it says create a post,
Uh-huh.
then there's the option. I can't, it don't show up the same way on, maybe I'm just not seeing it
Yeah,
right.
sometimes stuff looks different on phone than it does on desktop.
On the Yes, but on the desktop, like you'll see where it's in that little box where you can, post. It says post or media or write article. You
Okay.
click on the right article. It's red. It's like little lines. It look like a little newspaper type situation. You
Hmm.
click on that, but when you go into that, and it'll have a place where you can, it'll basically look like you can create. It'll have a place for an image at the top, and then it'll have like your header. You can put a subheading, and then your text. Don't be fooled by that first screen. Make sure that you go to the drop down menu and you actually say newsletter because that's what you want.
Okay.
Uh oh. So, yeah, so you want to have an actual newsletter. Yeah, so you can create different sections. So Canva is a really great resource. I know most people are familiar with it.
Hmm.
So on there, I've created like different banners. And so I have on the record, and that's basically where I, give the value. Sometimes there's like a backstory,
Hmm.
and I really want to connect with them. And then after that, I have game plan, right?
Okay.
So for this last one, what did I talk about this week? And I forget. Um, about like pivoting and shifting, and
Yeah.
sometimes you want to change things up. And so now it's very relevant for me and what I'm going through in my life, but how do I make this relevant for the reader? So I make sure that I'm always thinking about the reader. It is not about you. Like, your business is an extension of you, and it feels like your baby, and you're very protective of it, and you're like, I don't want nobody messing with it. But all that said, your business is really to serve other people.
Say
And so
that
you need to make sure
again.
that, yeah. So you need to make sure that everything that you are doing is intentional for them, like for the person. It is not to like glorify you. It is really, how can I show up and serve them?
Yeah.
And so I'm just very mindful of that in like that first section. That way people keep reading. And then the game plan is, okay, well, what are those action steps they can take? And that's just what I've learned works best for me. Then I have like on the mic, or no, drop the mic, which is, or no, share the mic. Sorry,
Okay.
share the mic, which is like, this is my call to action, because I want them to share this newsletter with other people, because I'm investing time every week in this newsletter and I think it's really good. I want other people to know about the information too. So it's always like, well, if you know a friend or if you have someone that you feel like could really benefit from this, sign up. And this is also where I'm taking them off of LinkedIn and having them sign up for my newsletter off the platform. So it's converting. It's converting slower because people they feel comfortable on LinkedIn. But like I said, we're trying to build these email lists. So any way that we can, right, we will.
Yes.
So we put information out there. There's also like a lead magnet in there. So my point is that you can have different sections. They don't have to be just like mine, obviously, but you can create these images. And so it also breaks it up. So visually, people are not just looking at a long list of words, like this long body of words. They're seeing like little pictures. It's divided. It makes sense for them.
Yeah.
You thought it through,
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's one of the tips that I've learned. And then also, like, you can put at the bottom like a little signature, because it will look real plain Jane if you don't add any images to this, right? But you can add as many images as you want, but it can look real plain Jane if you don't. So at the end, I also put a signature, and in the pictures, you can actually link them to something. So that also, if they click on the picture or my signature at the bottom, then it will also link them to my newsletter that's off the platform. That way I can get their email address. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all, we got to wrap up, but this has been really good. And I hope that you have been as encouraged as I have been, and that this helps you to simplify. It doesn't take a whole lot, just some simple things you can do that can really increase your visibility via blogs, newsletters, that podcast, that podcast, that podcast. Because I know a lot of people always say to me, oh my gosh, I love your podcast. I've been thinking, they said the same thing. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for years and I just never did it. So I hope that all of this we've been talking about today gives you that confidence, gives you that, yeah, I really can do this, to get up and start that podcast. But before we get off of here, let's talk about, I want to ask you one more key question. What brings you joy? Because I always talk about find the joy, find things that bring simple things that bring you joy. Like being a Black girl and getting braids in the summertime. That brings me joy. I've been doing it since I was 6.
Yeah.
What are some of the
So what
simple
brings me
things?
joy?
Yeah.
I love crafting. I'm a very crafty person. I actually, many people don't know this, but before I even got into the world of podcasting and visibility, I was a baker for 12 years. I owned, and I didn't like when people call me the cake lady, because to me it was art, like it was edible art that I was creating. But I love crafting, so I actually still have an Etsy shop. That way, when I make wreaths and I get, this bug to like make something, I can sell it somewhere, because it can't just be sitting all up in my house. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Which is also why I think that my brand is so beautiful for me, because it really is a reflection of me in totality. Our main mission, like I said, is, about motherhood and entrepreneurship, or really blending the two together so that you don't have to choose one. And I know everybody in your audience is not, a mother, but I don't want people to ever feel like they have to choose one. I want people to
Ooh.
build brands that reflect who they are. And
Yeah.
so for me, like, I know when I say two pecans and a peach, people are like, oh, well, what's that? But the two pecans are obviously my two daughters, and then I'm the
Ah.
peach, right? Because we were Georgia girls. And so, but it's creative. I always say that I help people, like, one of my purposes is to help people craft a beautiful life.
Mm.
And so I don't want it to just be about visibility. I also want it to be about, like you say, joy, right?
Yeah.
And finding that happiness. And so for me, I still craft. Like, I never want to not craft.
Mhm.
I never want to not craft. That's my thing. So that's what brings me joy. And my family. Like, I have girls who are teenagers, right? I have
Mhm.
my youngest is actually turning 13 next week. So I will officially have two
Wow.
teenagers, but my kids
Oh,
actually want to, like, spend time with me. You
that's
know what I mean? Like,
amazing.
I like how many people can say that they have teenagers that actually
Mhm.
want to, hang out with them. So I
Girl,
walk out
that's
and
count
they're
your
like, "Where you
blessings.
going?" Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, my family and my crafting is what
Okay.
brings me joy, and really helping women. So
Mm,
yeah,
I love
helping
it.
them to amplify their voices.
Yes, and you're so good at it. You're so good at it. How
Oh,
can
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. How can people connect with you if they want to work with you? They're like, that lady right there, I need her help. What can they do?
So we can talk on LinkedIn. You can
Mhm.
find me at Shani Allman I think it's Shani Fay Allman on LinkedIn. I'm
Mhm.
sure we'll put the link down below. Or
Mhm.
you can hit me, like, check out my YouTube, right? I have all
Yes.
kinds of things on my YouTube, or you can just email me at Shani Fay at twopecans.com. It's two pecans, or
Mhm.
some people might say pecans, right?
Hands.
Two pecans and a peach.com. So you can go ahead and email me, and I would love to connect with you. So, yeah.
All right. Wow, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. You're always such a joy to have on the show, and you always are dropping gems that help me. And so I love to always give you a platform to help everyone else in my audience as well. All right, you guys. Well, I want to encourage you guys to go to victoriousliving I have some free downloadables that are going to really help you to simplify your life. There's a goal setting one because I always talk about getting your third and fourth quarter goal sheets done. Summertime is a good time to do that when you're on the beach or somewhere relaxing in a coffee shop and getting some planning done so you can grab that free downloadable. I also have the remix worksheet because life is lifing. There's a lot of doom and gloom in the news, and you may be having some mental health reactions to that. You may be going through things at work. So, any kind of adverse event or negative thought pattern that you may be facing, get that remix worksheet. It's a good tool to help you process it so that a negative thought doesn't become a limiting belief. So grab that for free at victoriousliving.com/resources. And that is it. As always, be sure to leave us comments below. What were your big takeaways? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And keep living victoriously. See you next time. Bye, everybody.